opinions expressed by guests in this video are solely their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the host or production team. This program is designed to raise awareness of mental health issues and to encourage coping through the sharing of personal experiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's conversation where we delve into matters that are hardly spoken about and matters that are actually hidden in silence. That's mental health. Today, my guest has gone through so many storms. Talk about storms of abuse, storms of rejection she has actually gone through, but yet her journey is here to talk to you and me and show us that healing is actually possible, and to also show us that with the right coping skills, with the right mechanisms, and with hope, we can actually be carried through even those darkest moments that we get into, and that we actually face as well in life. So today we are not actually going to be just reviewing this book, Passing Storms, that I'm holding, but we are actually here to break stigma against mental health. We're here to open dialogue, and we are also here to learn and grow together. Ida, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Vicky. It's my honor to be here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, take us back and tell us what inspired, what challenges did you go through that led, to you writing this book, Passing Storms?
Thank you, Vicky. Like you've rightfully pointed out from the beginning, these were all varied, ranging from family storms, growing up in a broken home. Mm-hmm. My parents divorced when I was around the age of 3-4 years, thereabout. And the last picture I remember of my parents was when they were fighting. Mm. And I remember my mother was trying to jump over a fence and she was pulled back. That chaotic scene whereby you see your parents fighting, and that broke my heart. And it was like when they eventually went their separate ways, it was sort of a door had been removed from a shelter, and that facilitated anything to come in and hit me, ranging from challenges of lack. I remember, though my father had a white-collar job, would barely have food to eat, would sleep on empty stomachs. And I remember even the worst part was even like when going to school without even having a lotion that you can apply on your skin. And I ended up actually resorting to looking for empty bottles of cooking oil. You turn them upside down, you wait for them to fill the lid, and then you use that. To top it all, even at times we didn't have enough or sufficient school attire or uniform. And you'd go to school barefooted and tattered uniforms and, all those things. So quickly moving forward and going on to school, coming from a child-headed family, because my mother now was no longer in place, right? And I had to dress myself up. So at times, when you're just a child, but then around 7-8 years, many times you can actually be improperly dressed when you thought I've done my best. Mm-hmm. There you go to school, and then you be faced with school authorities who would judge you, who would criticize you for showing up in such a particular state, not knowing that I'd already done my best to appear, even though it wasn't up to the standard that they expected, but I was there. I had challenges even of like doing homework, school assignments, because
you talk about being judged by school authorities. What do you mean?
All right. So I remember a particular incident, which is actually in my book, whereby we were having our school assembly actually, and I'm sure around 500 kids. And then we were called up front. I had a friend who actually was in a similar situation, coming from a broken home, but that was well supported. So she always appeared to school well dressed, and she was actually literally the opposite of me. So in this case, the two of us were called up front. So for me, for the first time, I actually smelled like, oh, I'm being seen. Somebody, they actually know that I'm there, because these are all the things that I was looking at home. Upon getting to the stage, I realized why I'd been called when my friend now was being made an example of smartness. Then I knew what was going to hit me. Next, I was pulled in front of the stage now by the teacher, and the teacher now started pulling loose ends of my hair, actually hitting it, and telling the whole school that this is an example of scruffness.
Oh my God.
We don't want this at this school.
Oh my God.
Pulling my tattered uniform and saying, this is what we do not like here. Vicky, there was silence.
Did
There
they
was
not
silence.
know? Did the school authorities not know that you were coming from a broken family?
I'm sure some of them knew. And for me, it was like, before they could judge me, there could have been a safer space or better way of doing it. Pulling me aside, because you know how it is, we used to walk in lines. They could have just like addressed that, rather than to wait to address it in front of everybody in such a manner.
God.
That crushed my self-esteem, confidence. I didn't want to go to school anymore. At the same time, back home, they were storms of loneliness. You remember, I came across a book called Flowers in the Attic by Virginia Andrews, and the three of us, because we were three, and we're not allowed to play with anybody else. We were not, so it was such a lonely, cold place. And we're not allowed to see my mother, and the times she would bring gifts, my father would make sure that she would torment us over that. I remember I had a doll that my mother had brought, and that doll was sort of had become my friend. I would tell everything that was happening to my life to the doll. So one day my father came back from work and discovered that doll. Oh God, all hell broke loose. Who bought the doll? When I said it's my mom, he tore that doll from my arms and, you know, like strangled it and separated the head from the body. That crushed me. And when he was doing that, he was saying, this is what I'll do to you.
Oh my God.
If you keep interacting,
Oh
or if you
God.
keep
So
in touch with your
fear
mother.
being instilled at you right there.
Instilling fear. From there, he would, like, with fists, go to the wall, express his, punch the walls really hard and say, this I'm doing to the wall, but next I'm going to do it to you. So you can imagine, I became so fearful. I was like pain, but I couldn't shed tears. I learned to stomach the pain, you know, like I shouldn't express my feelings. I became numb emotionally. I became sort of a living dead, because when this was happening also, he moved on to search my brother's bedroom. And like, though of course we're sharing one bedroom. Then he discovered the watch, the gifts that my mother had bought. He said, what? Come on, carry them.
So this was actually more like anger that he was actually holding, you know, in himself, you know, because of what he had gone through with your mother, but now he's pouring all the anger on you.
Exactly. And that was really painful, because we didn't know what happened, why they separated, but it appeared we were that bad reminder to our dad of the person he hated. He didn't want anything to do with.
So when they separated now, who looked after you when mom was gone?
I remember the larger part we were with my dad only, and then at times relatives, some other extended relatives that come in, to just female relatives, to check on us. And before, sooner the later, my father then started introducing other women whom we are like, okay, these are going to be your moms, like stepmothers. I thank God for stepmothers, but I had a different kind of stepmothers, because they even made it worse. They suffocated my voice. They made me feel like you are a nobody, because some of them, they came in with their own.
You talk about some of them. Did you have so many women after your mom? How many?
I can't even count them, because like they would come and go, they would come and go, and that was so confusing.
Like more than 5?
More than. And that was so confusing. And, like it was just like a whirlwind happening, a hurricane happening around you, cyclones, I termed the cyclones in the living room. And I learned, I'll be subjected to fear, to terror, to ridicule, because I even learned, even though I was a child, what particular eyes would look like. If she gave you a certain look, I'd know this means trouble. This means keep quiet. This means stand up and leave the room. So it wasn't easy.
Now, I also read part of the book, and even in our conversation, you also spoke about a time that you then went to stay with your grandmother, and you were actually made to down urine. Please take us through that journey.
Yeah, passing storms. It's never easy, but I'm grateful I had time to process it in my book. So yeah, I actually used to love my going to the rural areas, paternal grandmother's place, because she was one person who felt us, who saw us, and she loved us. But unfortunately, she also had errands to do. So she couldn't leave us or leave me alone at the homestead. So I remember one day she took me to a safe space according to her. But unfortunately for me, when I arrived at this homestead, it was actually some relatives as well, distant relatives. So when she took me to that homestead, they were other kids, teens, but they were way older than me. And next thing I remember being called to an isolated hut. I was fearful inside, but because
Who
I'd
was
been
calling you to the hut?
the elderly girls whom we were playing playhouse with.
Okay.
So when I arrived at this compound, there were some elderly boys. And when I arrived, they gave me strange looks. That made me so uncomfortable. But because I'd been told to just stomach everything, I couldn't. I just tagged along my grandmother and quickly found a space to sit with the other girls. So in no time, when my grandmother went, these other boys disappeared. I didn't know where they went. And next thing, the elderly girls, because I was trying to fit in, they told me, stand up and follow us. Though something inside me was like, Ida, don't. But because I'd been told not to stand up for myself or to say no, I joined them. Next thing, I didn't know that I was going to hell. In that isolated hut, it was dark, I remember, and there was an empty chair. And I was instructed to sit down. Then some boys came in. Vicky, it was such a nightmare. Like your heart is beating. I'm anxious. What's going to happen next? Next thing, I see them pulling ropes. I tried to stand up. I was given a hard clap. I sat back, but then I knew what it meant: comply, or else. So yeah, I sat down. Next thing, they looked for ropes and tied me to a chair. And the shambok, the one that they make out of cowhide. They brought that thing out, and then next they were those boys when they entered. They had empty, dirty cans of, I think, tinned beef. The minute they came in, the girls smashed out. Then I knew I was in trouble. I tried to scream, but no one could hear me. And next thing, the more I kept on screaming, I'd be beaten. I ended up being quiet. And then he handed those empty, dirty containers, and they had fluids in it and made to drink. I resisted, I'll be beaten. So I ended up drinking, and that's when I later realized I'm drinking human urine.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That was dehumanizing.
Oh my
Nobody
God.
deserves such kind
Oh
of
my,
treatment.
nobody does. Nobody does.
And it became a wound that I carried for years. And that I couldn't, that even, I tried to clean myself. It couldn't go away. And to make it worse, it was immediately followed by sexual abuse, which actually happened almost, it's all in my book. I felt like, all right, what have I done to deserve all this? And I felt like I was the victim. I just had to take it in. All these things, they kept on piling and they damaged me.
So did you have the guts then to talk to your grandmother when she came back to say, Gogo, this is what happened?
In a way, I could not, unfortunately. I wanted so much to reach out. The voice in me would be yelling, screaming, this is what has happened, but I couldn't voice it out. I was in that space whereby I'd been made and I'd seen the evidence that my voice didn't matter. I'd been made to feel like you are worthless, you are insignificant. Whatever happens to you is not anybody's business. Doesn't matter. So I struggled. That's when thoughts of like I have to exit this world started to play
So you now had
in my
suicidal
mind.
thoughts.
Suicidal thoughts.
And this was at how old were you when
Right.
these suicidal thoughts started coming to you?
Yeah, that was around the age of 9, because I had questions like my parents, whatever is happening in them, they seem to have, they had forgotten me. Even the lack that I was talking about, that age, like I'd started having my menstrual cycle, and nobody to really counsel me, or even in the school syllabus, it wasn't there back then. And I remember that was so traumatizing because I didn't know what it is. I had nothing even. I didn't know how to go about everything. I remember, I actually thought I was pregnant. So that I couldn't sleep because fearing that, okay, the father who discovered a door, now discovering that I'm pregnant. So imagine how some things that are even aren't true became truth to me. And that broke me further. I remember, fast forward, it's all in my book. Yeah, so I was just broken, in short, and I wanted to die. And I remember actually attempting to take my own life, and unfortunately somebody walked in. And that was probably a way of God saying,
It's not yet time.
and that relative, I thank God, then introduced me or spoke about a God that I didn't even know as a child, and was like shared from the scripture. I remembered it very well, that says, when your mother and father forsake you, then the Lord will take care of you.
Yeah.
I yearned for that God whom I felt would,
Be able to really feel that gap.
yes, would heal me, would see the wounds. Because unfortunately, when people easily relate to somebody who has a broken leg, they give way, they give space for that person to heal, they can easily support that person.
Yeah.
But when you're carrying wounds inside of you,
Nobody sees them.
nobody sees them. You are judged. You are given all names. This moody child, this she's dumb, she can't even talk. You are given all sorts of labels. That's another wound. So I was just in that space whereby I was questioning my own existence, like, why am I in this world?
Yeah. So hey, that's really difficult and hard. So now you said you did not have anybody that you spoke to when you were going through all these storms, all these difficult moments. So did you carry the pain till childhood? At one point, did you ever get to then talk to your mother or your father about this?
Yes, I thank God for that ability and that opportunity to eventually lay at the later stage of my life. I remember that was actually when I had graduated from the university, and I was actually working, right? So I remember announcing to my mother that I was about to I'd found somebody who wanted to marry me. I'm not so sure. Probably they were communicating without us knowing,
Okay.
because that is around the same time that another storm rose, whereby my parents announced that they were reconciling.
Oh my God. After all those years of, how many years were they apart?
More than 21 years.
21 years.
That was that, but yeah, well, yeah, it was, yeah, probably above, but it was about 15 years, yeah, 15, 20, thereabout. So I was like, oh my God, you know how it hit me? So instead of
Were you
celebrating,
yeah, I was about to say,
it
so
was
were you excited? Because, oh my God, after all those 15 plus years of the pain that you went through, you know, and whatnot, now they are back together.
they're back together, Vicky.
And as children,
just
you
like
don't
that.
have you almost don't have a choice, you know,
Yes.
because these are your parents and this is what they've decided.
Yeah. And then oh, it hit us hard.
Oh my God.
Because it took us back to that same scenario when those guys were together. What happened? We just felt, in a way, they exposed us to all these abuses, rejection, all these traumas. And for some reasons, none of them had taken the time or opportunity to sit down with us or try to process or give us that safe space to process the challenges that we're going through. We had to manage that on our own. And next thing, they're back together. You're like, okay, so what's next is going to be destroyed again in our lives. The lives that we had tried so hard to reconstruct.
So were you not filled with anger? Your dad exposed you to all those, you know, stepmothers and what you went through when you were with your grandmother, you know, all those things, the hurt, the bitterness. How did you manage to let go?
Vicky, that was difficult, and it wasn't an overnight job, because I remember it didn't happen overnight. Because I remember one of the stepmothers when she, by then I think I was in high school, whereby she literally walked into our hostels, and what happened next was unimaginable. I was, thrown, false accusations were leveled at me, and then she just like, from nowhere, you tell me what you threw in my house, referring to Juju now.
Oh my God, yet she found
I was
some
only-
juju in the house.
I have no idea. I stared at her, but I had seen her coming, like when I was in the hostels. I remember we were coming from supper, and then I just managed to pull the other student who was next to me, and I said, "Here comes trouble." They looked at her, but they didn't understand. They had later understood when she got in the hostel, and then demanded that I literally give her back all the uniforms, including the one that I was wearing. I was left stuck naked in front of the whole hostel, because it was like, I'm the one who bought the blouse, give it to me. I bought the skirt, give it to me. I bought the shoes, the socks, give it to me. She went on to the trunk and took literally all the uniforms. So there I was,
Oh my God.
in my birthday suit.
Oh my God.
And the other kids, the other students were now just staring, like nobody spoke. I was numb. It was like I was watching a horror movie or something. I remember she collected the uniforms without shame and marched out of the room. Before marching out, she said, "Follow me." Then
So
she
did you
went
follow
out.
her?
I had to, but I didn't know how she was expecting me to follow her
When you are not stressed.
So I remember crashing onto the bed. That time I don't know. It was just like I was in my own world. I forgot that there were people around me. I was just in my world, and then in that moment, I just saw a hand that was holding on a blouse, another one that had a skirt, another one. So that's when then I'm like, it put me back to reality. Oh, okay. So
So now this way your dominance
Yeah,
now giving in.
yeah. So I quickly, I didn't even say thank you. Now it is like you just receive and then you do the needful and dashed out.
So where was she leading you to?
Her home, she stayed near the school. I sprinted to her place. Upon getting there, it's all in the book. You know what we used to watch in the, dramas back then? I used to think it's drama. I used to think like it was all mere act until I
went
witnessed that,
through-
because when I got to her place, I saw people shifting out property, moving property from her home. I'm like, okay. And then I got in and they said, okay. So what I said is, I still need answers. Your mother gave you juju to throw here so that I die and she comes back. The reason why I've called you, we have removed all this property so that you tell us where you dropped it. Vicky, I, I, I was, sometimes you can't even answer back. I remember just crumbling to the only sofa that had been left. I sat there and then I started thinking, oh, so what I used to watch in movies, and still by then, it is like
It's
when
happening to me
it's now
now.
really happening to me. And she was ranting. She was throwing all sorts of insults that I can't even repeat right now. But in that moment, sometimes God calms the child
Yeah,
instead of the storm.
yeah, yeah.
I remember, instead of answering back, I laughed, not laughed, literally laughing. That got her mad still. I don't even know how I laughed, because for me it was beyond crazy madness, because I had nothing. Okay, fast forward. So she, in the moment whereby she was ranting, I don't know what happened, I fell asleep. Literally fell asleep. The next thing, when I woke up, I was alone in the room. It was dark outside. And when I was still trying to process, so what happened? What just happened? Where am I? I saw her marching in. Then, oh, okay, this is what was happening. She marched in and then she said, okay, so now you can go back to school. But previously she had threatened that I was no longer going to continue with my studies until I had,
Shown you where the juju is.
yes, without answering. Oh, I looked outside, it was pitch black, it was dark. I feared my stepmother instead of what's the darkness that was outside. I quickly sprang to my feet and dashed out of that house.
Oh my God, it's so sad because, I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking how many other people are going through all of this and they don't have anybody to talk to.
Exactly.
So now carrying all this pain, all these storms that you have gone through, at what point did you decide to fight for your peace, for yourself?
Yeah, I remember, I think that was when I had finished my A level. And through the association of the other students who knew God, who were sort of my safe space and support system, they had introduced me to God and I'd given my life to God. So I remember after writing my A levels, though I knew God, still I didn't receive my healing overnight. It was still painful. I remember how even when we were at school and would be taken, photos, group photos, I would go behind everyone because I felt I was useless, I was worthless.
So you
Everything was
now
still
had
stuck in
low
me.
self-esteem because of the things that you went
Yes,
through.
yes, Vicky. And it was the funny bit is, in my struggles, there were still voices or eyes that saw me, especially at school. And they would always be watching out for me. I remember these other teachers who would remember even my birthday. I was surprised to be receiving a birthday. I was like, imagine in high school, I never received a birthday. Oh, is this for me? So they see me. That did something. And I remember, because amidst the challenges I was going through, I still had to balance my schoolwork. And I knew that if I didn't make it, my life was going to be times 10 worse or times 100. So still I had to perform better. And I thank God for the teachers, for the support systems, or the other kids who would literally go out of their way,
So you had
share their
some,
food
yeah,
with me, share their books with me, because
Wow.
my stepmothers, some of my stepmothers, they would literally make sure that their kids were the ones who had all the
everything.
resources, the food, the books, the proper uniforms, whilst I had nothing. I survived on handouts. But that was it was the period whereby I understood better what it means when the word of God says, God, Jehovah Jireh. I learned to depend on God. You know, it was like at times when I would be like hungry, with nothing to eat, having to study, I would be like longing for food. I had friends who were day scholars. I'll find them knocking. How they got the food, I don't know. It's like, either we've brought this for your evening meal.
So
So
support structures are really, really important, because when you go through these challenges, you need people around, you know, who will always stand with you and try and understand the pain. So writing this book, was it also part of the healing process?
it was, Vicky. Writing this book gave me the safe space to, or it became my voice, the voice that had been stolen from me. Writing this book gave me that opportunity to process the storms that I had survived. And you know, when going through them all, I then actually looked back and realized this doesn't happen to me only. There are many women, men, young girls who actually go through the same thing, but it's something that's not being spoken about. So writing it also made me an advocate, made me that gave me the space that I needed to talk about mental health issues, to talk about storms, and to give hope to people. You know, because I made this all because I had a particular voice and people who were telling me that it's not over until it's over, were telling me that hold on, it's going to pass. I then realized, yes. So these storms, they actually mirror what happens in the atmosphere. Just like today it's sunny, tomorrow it can be rainy. They are passing storms, you know, the weather changes. So just like everything that happens in our life. So I remember one day actually I was sleeping. I think I was above 21 now. And literally, I felt a cold flood that was sweeping from my feet all the way to the top of my head. I moved onto a window to sort of see if it was open, but it was actually closed. And that was, it's all in my book. That was God speaking to me and sort of healing me. So following day, I remember going outside and it was like my eyes had been opened. It was like a window. Writing this book was sort of opening a window in a room that had been locked up for many years. For the first time, aeration could come in, light would come in. So yeah, it was really a way of
Healing. You know, when we talk mental health is usually surrounded by a lot of stigma, you know, and people are ashamed sometimes to talk about the struggles that they go through. What message would you have to somebody who is going through something maybe worse than what you went through, but they have nobody to talk to?
Thank you, Vicky. First and foremost, I want to tell them that you are not alone. And don't allow yourself to go through those challenges alone. Find one trusted person to speak to. And I would want to assure you that talking about your emotional challenges or your feelings or your anxieties, it's not being weak. It's actually being very courageous. And I'd want to assure you that when you talk about it, you are initiating your own healing processes. And also just to encourage you that there is hope, that every challenge has an expiry date. And also just to encourage you to reach out, don't suffer alone. Reach out to a trusted people. Nowadays, There are so many support system organizations that are looking into mental health. Reach out. They are make use even of there's so many books that are being written, which is actually also one of the things that made me to leave. Because I remember when I was going through my trials and moments, I was sweeping in my grandmother's house, and guess what I came across? It was a tattered book, though it was so tattered, but it had an opened, like when I picked it up, a page opened up whereby Moses was standing by the Red Sea. Egyptians following, there was the Red Sea, but he was being told to move forward. It hit me hard. It also one of the strategies that made me to leave. So you too, I say, there is a way. There is a way around it. But many a times I know how you go when you go through storms, it feels like it's never going to end. And my encouragement also would be join the right circle of people or support system. I'm particularly grateful that I actually got to meet Vicky, if you remember Vicky.
Yeah.
We actually, a friend invited me to a mental health for teachers event that you organized actually.
Yeah.
And in that event, I appreciated how you unpacked challenges that we face as human beings, and how many a times failing to have coping strategies or safe spaces to process those challenges can damage us. You actually ended up giving your own personal story, which in a way further healed me, further strengthened me, and many testimonies were sort of actually emanated of how people got assisted. So I would actually recommend that you reach out even to people like Vicky. Right now, you're a mental health ambassador.
Advocate, yeah.
Yeah, advocate. And reach out. There's so many support systems, and many times when you're going through pain, I know it feels like it blinds you. It blinds your eyes, it blinds your mind, like you're just alone. But I encourage you to break out.
Now, I just want to look, thank you so much for those words. Now, to you, our viewers watching, I really recommend that you get this book, Passing Storms. There are so many chapters, that are there, the clock of passing storms. I particularly like, this title to this chapter, The Clock, because the clock is never stagnant, but the clock always ticks. And the clock will one day tick to a time for your healing. It never ticks, for pain throughout, but it will tick, and give you healing at the end of the day. So please do get hold of this book. But there's something that I would really love for you to just mention, which is in chapter 2 here, where it's broken home storms. I find that in our days now, marriages are being, attacked. They are broken marriages, broken homes a lot. I just want you to give a word, out of the experiences that you have gone through. What would you say to that husband and wife who are contemplating divorce, or to those children who are actually living as well in a broken home setup?
Thank you very much, Vicky. Yeah, that is a deep one. To couples who are facing challenges that are leading you to divorce, I would recommend that in processing your storms, do it amicably. Reach out to proper support structures who can see you through the process, so that you are assisted to also process the storms that are happening inside of you during that period of divorce. Because if not managed properly, you end up, this will have a ripple effect on your children, the ones that you value the most, or the ones that you're responsible for them. Even if you're divorcing, you still have a responsibility over this children. So I would say do it amicably. But even before reaching that point of divorce, just try and sit down. Because many a times, Vicky, it's passing storms. Storms do pass. Sometimes some things that you're seeing as an irreconcilable difference, it's a result probably of a storm that can be addressed by the clock, by the, time.
Yeah.
So give yourselves times to process the challenges that are in your marriages. If you find, okay, we cannot do it amicably, remember also that you've got children. And to children who are growing up in broken homes, I say, you are not your situation.
Yeah.
I say you are not broken.
Yeah.
You can heal, you can grow, you can become. I never knew, Vicky, that when I was going through the darkest, the toughest, being rejected, facing all those abuse, I never knew I'd be speaking to the world right now. But here I am. I was told you are a nobody. But Vicky, I'm here because you've seen that I'm a somebody.
Yeah.
So our
Absolutely.
situation, they interpret us incorrectly. So you are not broken. And I want to assure you that it's your responsibility to pick yourself up. Pick yourself up. You are your own liberator. Find your anchor and move forward. And one thing, many a times there are blessings in storms.
Yeah.
Had I not been that broken, I would not have written this book.
It's resilience.
Yes.
Resilience comes through, these
Well
storms
said.
that we go through. Resilience, it's what, at the end of the day, resilience then made you. I like it in the book here. I think there's a part where you wrote to say, broken but becoming.
Yes.
Broken, but you were becoming the person that you are. So anybody can build, that resilience that you have built as well. So there's something that you also wrote in the book, and you said what to do during storms. In 3 words, what should we do during storms? Because everybody faces storms, and these storms are different.
Oh, yes. So for me, I would say when you're going through storms, name them or embrace them as the first stage. Get to acknowledge that, okay, this is happening. Don't resist. Just like when it's raining, you cannot fight the rains. You cannot fight the rains. What you have to do is to take necessary steps. Find shelter, get a raincoat, and keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
So when you're going through storms, just find, we've got all different strategies to cope with challenges. For me, my anchor or my shelter was one, I had to connect with myself, understand, okay, you are in this and this is all happening. I had to connect my inner strength. And then next I had people around me. I identified trusted individuals that not everyone was bad in my circle. I had to also take small steps and reach out. So do reach out. It can be to that uncle, do reach out to that trusted person, to that friend. Never ever go through a storm alone, because that is very toxic. That is when you've got all these other negative coping strategies, like suicidal thoughts, like even, let me just take this drug.
Exactly.
Abuse this drug so that I escape my pain temporarily. Or maybe you just all those are the negative things. Let me just go and get married early, so that I
run away from all this.
Run away from poverty, run away from being told you're worthless. I have somebody, and many times probably that person you're thinking is loving you is not. So really, for me, I'll just say find positive ways of coping. For me, it was education. It was the people around me, support systems. It was finding God, holding on to God. Just like, God, you made me. And Jeremiah 29 verse 11 says, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. So I was holding on to the parts is going to prosper me. there is hope.
You found hope, you found something to
Yes.
hold on to, and that's your message to people today, to say find
Yes.
something, that one thing that you can just hold
Yes.
on to. So
Reframe.
exactly. So I did mention, I think earlier, to say many of us, we struggle with forgiving and bitterness. How did
Yeah.
you manage to forgive? And now you are a grown woman. You've got your family. I mean, all the cases, they didn't work. You've got your
God
kids.
dismounted them.
God dismounted them. You've got your kids. You've got your family. Um, have you really let go of the things that happened in the past? And how can you help somebody who is still holding on to that bitterness and unforgiveness? I know it's not a one day thing. It's
Yeah,
a
you see me
process,
like
but
I'm
help somebody
Oh
how they can let
yeah.
go.
So for me, my advice would be if you want to heal, you really have to, it's like unforgiveness or bitterness is like poison. When you drink it, it affects you who's drinking it, not the
Sadly,
person
it doesn't affect
yeah,
that person. Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
So you have to reframe like for me, like for instance, in my case, I thank God so much that I got to sit my dad down and took him through everything that I had gone through, or he had exposed me to. And of course, it's not an easy process, but those steps are necessary. Many times, actually, I think it's also out of parents trying to protect themselves. They don't easily want to acknowledge that it happened.
Denial.
They're in that denial. So, but for me, I just managed to like bring it out. So my encouragement is like, if you want to forgive, really get to sit down with whoever wronged you. You lose nothing, by the way. If anything, it's liberating. You gain your freedom. So I'm sure there is always tomorrow. Let go so that you can take your freedom. It's about an exchange.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Your last word, Ida, to everybody watching.
So I say, grow through what you're going through. Look at me today. I discovered through my storms, I discovered so many gifts. And by the way, Vicky, I'm now also a life coach.
Wow.
I became an author through all the storms. So you too, I'm certain that you can heal. I'm certain that you can grow. You can unlock your potential and become a change maker in this world.
Wow,
Thank you.
wow. I like that. You say grow through what you are going through. Yeah,
Exactly.
you just reminded me of the Bible, where the word of God says whatever the enemy meant for evil, God can turn
It's
it
always turn it
around
around
for the
for
good.
God.
Now you're going around
And
and
he meant it.
assisting people,
Yes.
helping people to grow as well. So the same can also happen to you. Don't ever throw away your pain. Don't throw away your mistakes, because what you went through will be able to help somebody as well. Well, Ida, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today and really encouraging us and showing us that healing is possible. So if you're watching and you'd like to get hold of Ida's book, Passing Storms, there are numbers that are showing right now on the screen. Do get in touch with me. You can also email on the number that is there showing on the screen right now. Ida, I don't know how to really thank you. There's power in you sharing your testimony with others. Sometimes we only get to talk about other people's story, but it's different when somebody comes and they tell you, hey, I actually went through this. I actually downed someone's urine. I actually was made to sleep on the floor. I went through more than 10 mothers, but here I am and I'm still standing. I do pray that your story touches people and that many people will also get healing through reading this book here and just listening to this. So there you have it. Storms
Thank
do come.
you.
Storms will always
Yeah.
pass.
And
Storms don't stay forever. I always like to say there is no problem that comes without a solution. So whatever it is that you are facing right now, I want you to know that problem can be solved. That problem has a solution, but you can only get that solution when you reach out and you talk to somebody. Do get in touch with me as well on these numbers showing on the screen, and let me know what issues you'd like us to discuss here, what issues you have also learned as well during this episode. All I can say now is take care. See you next time.